It's the Morning Marketing Machine, here to grow your e-commerce business with proven marketing strategies and tactics, so you can run your business with machine-like precision. My name is Douglas Levin. Let's dive in. Welcome to Morning Marketing Machine, and I'm very excited today. I have a very special guest. LeAnn Lyon is the founder of Chief Joy and Chief Joy Officer of Joy Minder Consulting. LeAnn started as a 7th grade math teacher in the 90s and since moved to sales, marketing, and establishing a growing business for the past 20 years. She's a successful consultant with an international resume, an author, award-winning sales rep for multiple companies, including the Yellow Pages of all places. LeAnn is excited to contribute to the success of others in business by passing along the knowledge she has gained along the way. So thank you so much for coming on, LeAnn.
Oh, my pleasure. It's great to be here.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
should say thank you.
Oh, yes. I was honored because I was a guest for her summit that she just put on. It was really good, and she'll be putting on more of those. So definitely check that out. So for anyone that may not know about you, can you tell them a little bit about how you got started in all this?
I like to joke, I'm still a recovering 7th grade math teacher. It's been 20 years. No, I went into teaching because it was a calling. I felt like I was supposed to do that. And I loved teaching. I really did. But when I had my own kids, suddenly I was like, you know what? I want to pour into her. I want to make sure that she's got what she needs. And then I started just feeling this nudge and this calling to work with other people and to help and develop other people as well. So just I'm a bit I have a little more years than people expect when I say that I left teaching 20 years ago, but it's been a real journey to get where I've gotten. And there's been a bump or two along the way, along with a few career changes. I went into sales, as you mentioned. Technology has changed just a little bit, and that's definitely impacted things. And I do a lot with technology today in helping businesses to thrive and grow and really help business owners have more joy in doing what they love to do and do less of the other stuff.
Yeah. And there's definitely a couple of things I want to get into a little bit more in terms of what you were just talking about. I guess the first thing is what kind of I guess spillover, for lack of a better word, was there between being a math teacher and what you're doing now? Because you're obviously, if you're coaching, helping and consult, that kind of a thing, you're still teaching people. So what did you take from the school teaching kind of world that's been able to translate to what you're doing now?
Well, I don't get people in trouble, that's for sure. But when I applied to be a teacher, you have to go through an application process. You have to be admitted into the School of Education. And they said, why did you want to become a teacher? And I said, well, I've been teaching since I was 5. Whether it was my sister, my younger sister, and I would teach her how to spell the words that I was learning in school, or just even being a server in college, when I would educate my table about this really great bottle of wine that they were going to tip me on, by the way. So education and teaching has just been part of who I am my whole life. Leaving the formal schools and things like that, I'm still educating, I'm still teaching. It's really what I love to do most. If I don't care if I honestly that much how much I get paid for the teaching. I just love teaching and raising people up.
So another thing that you had talked about, like before, that I wanted to ask you about as well is you talked about kind of going into different types of models, different things along the way. I assume it's obviously it's never perfect when you go through that. So like, what helps you when you're dealing with those lows that come along with that, especially as you're transitioning from a math teacher to kind of go into the business world like that? What helps you to basically pick yourself up off the ground when something doesn't go right?
I think the first transition was obviously the hardest. And when I left teaching, I thought, oh, hey, this will be easy. I'm going to just stay home with my baby. I discovered that really wasn't my calling. I love my children and I'm very proud of them. They're both grown in college, doing well. And I think that's partially because I didn't stay home all the time with them. I think I wouldn't have been great if that had been my full-time career. I love that many women love doing that, and I lift them up, and I'm grateful that there's great moms out there. I just, that wasn't my calling. So when I did go back to actually into the work world without going back into teaching, it was kind of a whiplash, like, wow, somebody else is in charge of my time, which was true in teaching too, but it was just different in the business world. And then when I left that to go into sales, whew, that learning curve, like I was tired.
Mhm.
I remember coming home and just being like, wow, how can I be this tired? Now I understand our brains use a lot of energy when we're learning new stuff. And when you go into actual outside sales, you're taking in so much and you're learning so much every single day, and every single client that you're working with it was really a trip. What I've learned from all that is that when you decide you're going to make a transition, expect it. Expect to really take at least a few months to really get into that. The learning curve on anything is steep. And, whether you're learning how to sell on Amazon or you're learning how to do anything, and you start doing a lot of it, just expect to be tired, expect to maybe not get the laundry done as frequently, expect to reach the end of the week and wonder what happened to your house. Just because, give yourself a little bit of grace, and or engage other people to help you out with it.
Yeah, yeah. I think we, as business owners, seem to have unrealistic expectations a lot of times, right? So we talked a little bit before about how it's never as easy as you think it is. So we talked. You had mentioned how you've definitely had some rough points along the way. If you can tell people watching, like, what was the worst point in your business, and ultimately what helped you to get out of it?
So the worst point in my business was that when it closed unexpectedly, unwanted. And I'll share a little of that story. So, my husband and I had purchased my mother in law's business from her. We'd actually helped start it 20 plus years ago. She built it, she did amazing things with it, but it came to a point where she's like, you know what, I kind of like to retire. And we wanted that for her. And we were interested in building the business out as well. So, we purchased it from her, we poured everything into it. I went in and learned things that I never thought I'd ever need to learn about running a business and doing things, spending money, traveling all over the place, hours and hours just poured into this business. And then one day, a three-letter agency walked in and said, we're going to start to regulate you. And that was the end. I mean, really. And it's not that we were doing anything wrong. In fact, that was my first question when the agent walked in, as like, well, what happened? She said, absolutely nothing. You guys are squeaky clean. I'm just here to find out why. And I'm like, we are squeaky clean and we are doing everything right, but I know that your regulation isn't free. And as a home, we weren't a home-based business. We actually had a 4,000 square foot manufacturing plant. We had employees, we had machines, we had all this, but that wasn't free. Nobody handed that to us. We paid for all that. And it wasn't, we were sometimes cash flowing, most of the time cash flowing, but not always. And to take on, oh, now you're going to have to just hire a lawyer to work for you. Oh, right. Let me just add on $120,000 to my budget because you want to regulate us. So it was a really bad day. And within 6 weeks, we actually closed our doors and said goodbye to clients that, every once in a while to this day, we have them reaching out to us like, can't you do this one more time? I'm like, I can't, we just don't. We don't do what we used to do. But I had to pivot really fast. I know there's a few business owners out there that have had to do that in the last 11 months as well. And I did too, because I left that manufacturing company. I started a travel business because I love to travel. And, nobody's traveling so much anymore. Had to pivot again. Now, the traveling was tied in with what I do with Joyminder Consulting anyway. I do affiliate marketing. That's what I love to do. I always have. Kind of goes all the way back to childhood again. But yeah, it's the pivoting can be hard. Try to limit the amount of chocolate and wine and then move forward.
So how did you eventually find, obviously you talked about the affiliate side of it and obviously everything you're doing today. How did you end up going from the point you're at there where you're trying to like figure out, okay, now what am I going to do until this point? And like why is it that you love it so much too? I guess I would ask.
Yeah, I think knowing your purpose, knowing your why, really digging into who you are and what you want to do matters so much. Um, Truth is, I loved that business that we had to leave. I'm happier today. I'm happier today. I'm financially better off today. And it all goes back to now I'm doing what I really like, all the way back to when I was a kid, really felt like I wanted to do. I didn't know what to call it, when I was younger. And it really didn't even come into fruition. What did we do that was affiliate marketing back in the 90s or the 80s? Right? I don't know that we did. And now we do, and we do it digitally, and it's rapid fire. I could imagine it back then. Computers and I have always been kind of like this. But to actually start doing it it's been a ride. And there's people out there that teach affiliate marketing. I don't do that, but I really enjoy doing affiliate marketing because I know it blesses other people.
So you brought up the idea of knowing your why. So I would ask you as you're dealing with everything that goes into it, obviously getting past your worst point and when you're finding affiliate, what's your purpose for doing what you do?
So I've been to Tony Robbins events. That was something huge blessing. I actually brought my babies to Tony Robbins event. We were at the manufacturing company was a vendor for Tony Robbins out in Hawaii. Want to talk about a bad day? We were there on this date called September 11th, 2001, as a vendor on a small island in the middle of the Pacific at, kind of high room rates per night. Not sure we were ever going to be able to leave. We just didn't know, right? I had a 7-week-old baby and a toddler that didn't care what day it was or what was going on in the world. They needed a lot of attention. And we're also trying to run a booth at a Tony Robbins event. It was a pretty crazy day. I was, with the Tony Robbins thing, I worked on crews for him. And part of that, I actually jumped out of an airplane. I did 5 fire walks. I've done some pretty fun things, but I learned through that, he really has you dig into your purpose. And it was after a program called Date with Destiny. I was out there alone for about a week, leaving my husband home with the little ones. And I always saved one extra day after these events because you don't sleep during Tony Robbins events. I don't know if you've been to one, but you don't sleep. So I stayed one extra day and I woke up after about 14 hours of sleep and it just came to me. I knew exactly what I'm here for, why I'm here. And the words are ingrained. The purpose of my life is to be a blessing and to inspire myself and others to live and love with passion and courage and wisdom and outstanding joy. And it just keeps translating. It's that came to me 20 years ago, roughly, more or less. And it's still ingrained. I remember, how I put those words together and the fact that they have this rhythm to them. Actually, I didn't make that happen. It just came down to me. And so I've been living out my life. How can I bless other people? And affiliate marketing really does that. Teaching really does that. Everything I've ever done has been towards that purpose.
So would you say like once you found that, then like you found out your purpose, that makes it a lot easier in terms of the direction that you're going to go with everything you do?
I can evaluate things, right? So even working for Yellow Book, which I did after that happened, the purpose of my life is to be a blessing. Okay, how am I blessing these business owners? I would walk into a business, cold call, right? Yeah. And hey, how are you doing today? Why did you start your business? And they would tell me the most amazing stories. And I'd listen because I love to listen. I love to learn like that. And then I'd bless them with an opportunity to grow their business, to expand their reach. and brainstorm with them and just really dig into their why. And it was usually just a fantastic experience, certainly for me. I ended up being in the top 100 people in the world for Yellow Book. Another story, but that was a trip that I was supposed to take, and then they actually canceled the trip, not even due to COVID. Strange, right? But that was, yeah, back a few years ago. But yeah, so my why translated into that, and the reason for leaving it, as well. There was just another opportunity that my why changed actually to my kids for a little while. The purpose of my life is to be a blessing to my own children, and one of my children was going through a really rough time, and I realized that I did need to go back and be the mom, at least until we could get her through that patch. It was more important than making the money or having the career. And that's what I did. So it's always this guidepost that I can follow and figure out where to turn and what to do now.
I think it's something that can't be, I think, overstated in terms of us as people as we're trying to do something. I mean, like, yes, there's a reason you start as a business owner, and a lot of times that's okay. I want the freedom, I want whatever. But if you're just trying to do it for money, after a little bit of time, you're gonna completely lack in fulfillment or anything else that's going on in your life if you're just chasing after the almighty dollar. And I I would echo in terms of what you're saying. Like, it makes things so much easier in terms of how you're going to direct your life as well. Like, I what I loved about what you're saying is like it's not just the money. Like at that point, you had to do something for your family. You understood that's a part of of what your purpose is. Because at the end of the day, yeah, you could have $1 billion, but what's it really going to accomplish in your life?
Can't take it with you.
Yeah. So obviously getting back to then your love of affiliate marketing and obviously your the summit we were talking about a little bit before as well. Like, what's the part of the business that you love the most?
Honestly, Douglas, I love connecting with people. I just love hearing their stories. I love to hear where they came from. Like, ever know anybody that was a drummer that became a successful businessman in a very short period of time? Fascinating story. I'd love to introduce you to the guy.
I don't know who that guy is.
Ah. Everyone has a story. We all do. And I love hearing people's stories. Heck, I like sharing mine. So it's, that conversation, like I said, you can't take the money with you. You can take, but the relationships can last for years and years. I've met, because of COVID and because of going online, I've met people that I think truly will be friends of mine for, decades potentially. And I'm really blessed by that because we used to be really constrained to who lived on your street and, who, the parents of your kid's school that you hung out with at the soccer field. And that's fine. Those people are very important and we should pay attention to what's local, but it's nice to be able to expand and be global as well.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And I feel very fortunate that, like, obviously I was able to meet you, and there's so many people that that's where I think I look at the virus in some ways as a blessing. I feel really terrible in terms of what it's done, obviously, to everyone else in terms of like the situation that they've dealt with, but it's also given us as business owners a chance to expand in terms of like talking to people through Zoom, like we're talking about, and other places where that wouldn't be possible in a lot of ways, and you're kind of like forced to do something that you wouldn't normally do in this situation. So,
So you want to hear a regret from last year?
go, go.
So I've been using Zoom. I live about 30 minutes outside of St. Paul. And when I would meet with people before COVID, sometimes I would say, hey, have you ever used Zoom? I preferred Zoom over Skype. I could just never just got along with Skype, but Zoom I figured out. And so I was doing Zoom meetings before COVID. When COVID started, when this whole thing started, I had the thought, go buy stock. Darn. Oh, regret. I don't regret much actually, but there's, that thought, right? Like, what if I'd bought Apple when? What if I'd bought Amazon when? What if I'd bought Zoom when? But yeah, it's just life. It gives you those opportunities to say, okay, well, next time I'm going to listen to that intuition.
Yeah, yeah. So I was asking you obviously beforehand. I got a little sidetracked, but about the part of the business you love. So I want to ask you now, like, what's the part that you love the least?
Just the nitty gritty, when I talk about helping business owners find trusted tools and curated coaches to help them with the rest of the stuff, I do the same thing. Yeah, I have a marketing system that just rocks because in 5 minutes I can do most of my marketing. And then, by the way, I hire a virtual assistant to help me with that. So, if you can get the help, if you can find an affordable way to do things, and as entrepreneurs, solopreneurs, mompreneurs, sometimes we need to find the really affordable options and not be able to necessarily get the biggest and the best. Everybody's out there saying, I've got the amazing system. It's only $2,000 a month. And you're like, and my mortgage payment is. So finding affordable quality opportunities is sometimes a challenge, but it's so critical because if you don't enjoy what you're doing, the freedom, the flexibility, the money doesn't matter. If you're stuck, I mean, I don't like doing email. I really don't. I beg people, please text me, please message me. Don't email me. And if you do, please send me a message telling me to look.
Yeah. I, I think I remember when we were talking when I was going to be on your summit and you pretty much said that same exact thing. I was like, oh wait, I sent her an email. No wonder I haven't heard anything, right?
Yeah, I apologize. I am working on, my virtual assistant is half time right now. That would be the rest of the full time. And I do anticipate getting there because it's important and really communication is so important. Right now I'm revamping, I've set my 2021 goals. I know what I'm going for this year. I'm redoing my calendar completely to make sure that it's in line with those goals. A goal is great, but you have to have a plan. You have to write it down. You have to block time for it. Saying that you're going to bring on X number of clients, but then not blocking time to find them or to talk with them, it's not going to happen. It's just a wish.
So you had brought up the idea before in terms of I can't think of what it was. Um, uh, Having a brain fart here. But
Never
what?
happens to me.
Oh yeah, that never happens. But you're talking about the idea of obviously like planning your 2021 and everything that goes with it. So what would you say your most important thing is that you're trying to figure out that is going to be like the big domino to get you to where you want to be in 2021?
I'm definitely setting aside. Have you heard of the book 12-Week Year?
Yes,
It's actually down.
yeah, that's one of my favorite books I read last year.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's excellent. I have purchased training from the authors of it. I've seen them live on another podcast actually, and really appreciate it. My book club is reading it right now, and so he talks about blocking time, but also only having. You can't work on everything, right? So know what your 5 year, your 3 year, your 1 year goals are, but then chunk it down. What can you do in the next 3 months to move forward? And what one or two things really drive it? And then block that time every day, every week. Are you making progress towards that goal? Because if you're not, you're just dreaming.
Mhm.
So I'm revamping my blocks. Am I making sure that I have, 2 hours a day towards a particular block? And then am I blocking time to make sure that I don't put on that COVID 40? Am I taking care of myself? I'm now scheduling times to go on walks with my friends all over the world because we can be on Zoom or we can be on the phone and taking walks around our own neighborhoods together. So that's a goal. I'm rejoining Toastmasters. I highly recommend Toastmasters for anybody that does any type of speaking. It's a fantastic organization. And again, gives you that camaraderie and that social time that we can get really away from and kind of, I don't know if anybody else feels this way, but sometimes kind of lonely sitting in your office bedroom.
Mhm.
So, bringing in the things that will help me long term to achieve those goals, and making sure that I have a really specific plan and that I'm executing the plan. I'll tell you what, Netflix does not get my attention these days.
Yeah. So how many? I've done the 12-week year, and I'm actually planning my next round.
So
Um,
my
so uh, so how many goals do you have for the 12 weeks then? And like which areas have you focused on?
Well, I have two what I call BHAGs for the year. Big, they say big, hairy, audacious goals. I'm not sure why they have to be hairy. I guess because they're scary, hairy. I don't know. One has to do with my health. I did, again, with two major transitions in business in the last 19 months. It was easy to drink a little more wine and have a little more chocolate and not take those walks. So one is just physical. I have a daughter getting married this summer, and that means I have to wear a mother of the bride dress. So there's a big why, again, big why behind that. So, this is now still, 6 months and 29 days away. Not that I'm counting, but I know that if I focus on it now, I'll have it achieved well before I need it to be done. I think that's a big thing too. If you know when your date is, move it up. I can't get into shape 3 weeks before her wedding. I need to be working on it now and be ready to buy that dress in April, May, and have it look the way I want it to look, so that when I look at her wedding pictures for the rest of my life, I'm not drawn to, oh, I wish. No regrets. The other big hairy BHAG, is a financial / business goal. And that, every quarter that's going to be like, how am I driving that? How many appointments am I making? How is my communication? And am I staying on top of those emails, those messages, those opportunities to connect? So probably my whole year is going to have pretty much the same two goals. Eventually, though, I'll hit my fitness and health goal and just be able to maintain, which I really look forward to that.
Sounds like we're on the same page with that. I know I typically have like a personal goal, and then I've got like two business goals as well. So it sounds like the same kind of thing. And yeah, I've dealt with that same kind of issue in terms of health wise. I think that's what a lot of people seem to do on it.
I will say it feels different this time. I've definitely been the New Year's resolution. I'm going to do it all this year. But having the really deep why of imagining 5 years from now, 10 years from now, looking at my daughter's wedding photos and not being embarrassed by how I looked. I mean, that's a big why. The why that makes you cry. I mean, I'm fighting it right now. So it definitely matters when you can get to that point. And it, for me, I have another daughter, and eventually she's probably going to get married. So my goal is actually just to hit it and maintain it for years. I have an actual, not a 90-day goal or a 30-day goal. I'm going to lose 10 pounds in the next 30 days. It's not it. And I'm going to hit my fitness and, where I want to be. It's not about pounds even. It's about strength and just feeling toned and able to do things. I have been working with a trainer for 6 months. My knees haven't hurt in about 4 months.
Okay.
And that's huge, huge, because I am older than I look.
Like 20, 23, 24, right?
Yes, thank you. Did I mention that my former manufacturing company was a health and wellness company? We may have known something.
So obviously we talked a little bit about the 12-week year. So I would ask you then, since I think when we had our first conversation, we talked about books. I want to ask you, like, what's the best book that you've read in the last 6 months?
So many books. I've kind of reread EOS, Entrepreneurial Operating System. Actually, within reach, I've got StrengthsFinder, which I refer to quite often when I get a chance to talk with people. I actually have the E-Myth and the E-Myth Revisited within reach. Behind my green screen, it's about 300 other books all within reach. So I do a lot. The Purpose Driven Life is within reach. John Maxwell's 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership is a really key book. And for those that have that are faith-based as well, you may not know that he has another book like it. 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership really is just a secular, great, fabulous book on leadership. There's another one where he actually digs deep into where those laws really come from. And it's all from that Bible book. That's kind of interesting. Very fun to dig deeper into things like that sometimes.
Very cool. And everyone that's listening now has a big shopping list of books to read now.
There you go.
Yep.
I have more. I can keep going.
We'll talk about it, I'm sure, again, in terms of all that. I know I'm always looking for new books to read myself. But you talked about, obviously, your family. You talked about your basically your why. You did talk about chocolate and wine. And as someone
Right.
who's a recovering chocoholic, that's definitely something that I'm interested in. I would say, like, what do you try and do when you're trying to relax and have fun?
Yeah, that's another big push right now is leaving. My husband and I worked together in our manufacturing company. Since we closed it, we had to figure things out. He's gone into into a career. He's operations manager for a small company. When I say small, 22 employee type small, not entrepreneur, single person type small, while I'm here. And we made that agreement that while I build this business, again, ground up, he'd go out and have that steady income. But he's good that way. He doesn't mind that, and he likes what he's doing, and he's giving to his employees and everything that he's doing. So, but we're apart. He'll leave early, and because he's dedicated and because we're empty nested, we have the flexibility to not be running kids around and to really pour into our clients and our businesses. But when he comes home, I walk away. I really try with almost no exception to turn off the computer, leave the room, go downstairs and just spend time with him. We started, do you know what HelloFresh is?
Yes, I do.
So we thought, oh, well, this would be fun. We tried. Totally, especially when restaurants are closed for 2 months here in Minnesota. Now they've reopened. We can go out again. But spending time eating quality, awesome meals was something we always enjoyed. Oh, wait, maybe anyway. But now we were able to make them at home, and those meals were always unique and tasty. Like, I think for a month in a row, I'm like, oh, this is the best meal I've ever had. He's like, you said that last night. I'm like, I know. But it was fun because we were making them ourselves and we were trying out new flavors and new tastes. What was one of them? Truffle mushroom risotto on something or other with scallops. I'm like, wow, I've never cooked tempura shrimp in my own kitchen before, but I have now.
Mhm.
So that was fun. And I'm not loving, like, I really don't actually like to cook, but it's been an adventure and a way to decompress from just always being so business focused all the time. And then we watch, TV shows a little bit here and there on Netflix, but not during the day. What are your favorite? Do you have any favorite shows that you're watching?
Oh, what did we get done watching? Uh, I think we did the superhero kick, I guess, just
Yeah.
because we're looking to basically decompress. And honestly, my wife and I watch very different types of shows. Like she likes procedural type shows, like the NCIS type shows, and I was always like, what was it, like Veronica Mars or Buffy, like this kind of serialized kind of shows, I guess. So I think we kind of met in the middle with like superhero stuff, and then we watched, was it Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, I think was the last thing we saw.
Yeah, I think we're watching Blacklist.
Okay.
We watch. He really likes the home improvement shows, and he's really good at doing that kind of stuff too. Thankfully, people are like, "Oh, I love how your house is decorated." I'm like, "It's all him." "Oh, I love your landscaping." It's all him. I joke about that a lot. Like, I'm not really sure what I do around here. He cooks more too. But so he loves the home improvement show. So, it's just about relationship, right? I don't always get to watch what I watch. I go watch home improvement shows with him. And hey, they are pretty interesting as long as he doesn't expect me to redo that kitchen. And then we've started watching, what's the new Karate Kid show?
Right?
Yeah, we watched the entire season
Yeah.
one day, which is really horrible. But we're both black belts, so we thought, and we really just enjoy that kind of stuff. I don't know. We love the kickboxing and that type of physical adventure things too.
So as someone that has that history, how completely out off the walls is it compared to somewhat reality?
I just refuse to sit there and evaluate things. I love Grey's Anatomy too. And I know that people who are in the medical field are like, well, this, that, the other thing. And I'm like, I'm not going to. I am there to relax, not to get worked up about something. If I want to get worked up about something, I can find it. But that's not what I'm there for.
So, and obviously, like the whole thing that brought this up, we were talking about how you're kind of like making time for your husband and then family. I think that's like, I guess before we kind of move on, is one thing I also want to say as well is like, I think us as business owners, we don't typically do that. We're in this mode of you want to keep pushing forward, but then a lot of times people neglect their families. They neglect the whole reason why they're doing what they're doing. I mean, that's where I think for me it was a 12-week year. I've said this before. Is like when you hear about how your business should work on your based off of your vision, not the other way around. Where like that was the game changer for me, and for you to kind of put that in play in real life too, where a lot of people have a really hard time with that. Is something that yeah, I applaud you for that you're able to do something like that.
It's a decision. It's not easy, and I'm still at fault. Phone's right here, and we're driving, and one of my clients reaches out. It can be willpower to not reply right then. There's this thing in us as entrepreneurs, or at least in me, when I want to serve people so much that I want to be there right away. I know that there's a message on there right now that I saw just before we started. I'm like, okay, I need to get there, but I can't be everything for everyone, not even my husband, not even my kids, not even, I try to at least be that for myself and pick the people that I do put the phone down for. Don't bring it to the dinner table. Don't bring it to, or turn it off in the car, have actual conversations. When my kids were teenagers, car drives were our best conversation. We didn't have to look at each
Well,
other.
as teenagers, you don't want to look at you anyway, right?
What's that? Oh, right, exactly. But then it was legit, and I wasn't mad at them for not looking at me. No, it's been, life is such a ride, but we don't get out of it alive. Make sure you're doing, what is your passion? I think that was, if there's anything I could tell people, if you can find your passion, it doesn't have to become your work. Not everybody's built like an entrepreneur. I think very few people are built to be an entrepreneur. I think there's a lot of people that are super happy not having to work as hard as entrepreneurs do, or have the stress, the responsibility that we take on. But make sure you're doing something that fulfills that deep calling inside of you that really matters. And I could fulfill the, purpose of my life is to be a blessing as a teacher. It just, I got, sidetracked the other ways. And I'm a woman of faith. I believe that I hear prompts, if you will, as to, hey, it's time to do this. It's time to go. It's time to stop. And I listen to those things at a deep level.
And that is a great thought, and definitely I could ask you a lot more, but I think that's a great way to kind of end for today. So I wanted to thank you so much for coming on, sharing everything you did today, like your story, your expert insight. I mean, it was so great talking to you. I wanted to ask you, like, how can our listeners find out more about what you're doing?
Well, if you don't know by now, my I actually do have a YouTube channel where I talk about the business tools, and I'll be this year developing out my YouTube channel. It's Joy. Look up Joy Minder Consulting on YouTube. You'll find me. I'm pretty much my face is on there all the time. At some point, I'll probably get somebody to put up all the fancy cards and do all the fancy stuff, but it's been a fun journey. This year, I'll be really developing that out more. I have a desire to work a lot with real estate agents globally, and I have a passion behind that because I know that there's a lot of money in real estate, which means that the individual realtor, the very successful realtors, do make a considerable amount, and that pours out into their communities. If you're successful in any type of business, you're hiring people to do the things you don't like to do, or you're hiring people to help you enjoy life more, like take care of your boat or clean your house. And so it pours into the whole community when one business owner thrives. So real estate agents and the like, they're independent business owners. They truly are. They may have their license held by a brokerage, but they're looking to make a big splash, and I love to help those entrepreneurial and business type people. So I'm developing tools especially for them, and I'll be doing more and putting more of that onto my YouTube channel as well as on my website, joy-minder.com. So that would be a fantastic connection.
And we'll definitely have links to everything as well below. So thank
Thank
you
you.
so much. And thank you to everyone for listening. Talk to you next time on Morning Marketing Mission. All right.